Just Joe here, and I've got too many movies. Maybe I should watch one. Oh baby, it is almost Halloween, and as you can see, I am more prepared for it than I have been in the past 3 weeks. I decided to go a little bit more scary, a little bit more Halloween, more Halloween. So I wanted to kind of get in the mood and have a dark, foreboding atmosphere in my office here, because today I am watching what is quite possibly, maybe not one of the scariest Halloween movies ever made, but definitely one of the most chilling, and probably the only one I've watched this month to truly get me into the Halloween spirit. Sorry, Halloween spirit. So today, because it is only, like I said, a few days away from Halloween, I'm bringing it down a little bit. Yes, I've got my coffee and I'm hyperactive to all shit as usual because I'm excited for Halloween, and I am also very excited for this movie because I've always wanted to see it. It's been in my collection for a very long time. It's made by one of the most controversial because of his personal life, but considered to be one of the best directors in film history, Roman Polanski. Now, it's kind of a dirty word when it comes to Hollywood, but he does make really good movies. I'm not here to judge his personal life, just to judge, a certain movie of his, which, like I said, is considered still one of the most chilling movies of all time, and I'm excited to watch it. I, of course, am watching today Rosemary's Baby. I've always wanted to see this movie. It has been built up so much for me. It's an old movie. It came out in the late 60s, I believe, 1968. Yep, 1968, and it's still considered one of the most chilling movies of all time. And it was very controversial when it came out, and perhaps it'll still be controversial today. So I don't know, but I'm very excited to get to it. And usually I would get real excited and I would run out, but it's really fucking dark in here, can't really see, so we're just gonna cut to the next thing because I am not running, not gonna trip over and have to set all this shit up again. So coffee, then I'll go, just cut to it. And yeah, I didn't shoot it to where I'm coming back and sitting down because just not doing it, Not messing this up, but I did just watch Rosemary's Baby, and I watched it. Oh boy, let me tell you, it didn't scare me, but it left me with a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It left me with a very uneasy attitude. Oh boy, oh boy! So, yes, let's go ahead and get into it, kiddies. We're gonna change up the music just a little bit, just to kind of fit the atmosphere, since it is Halloween time. So I'm gonna talk about Rosemary's Baby. Need more coffee. I'm gonna talk about Rosemary's Baby, and as always, I start with the plot / the script. Okay, Rosemary's Baby is about this couple. One played by Mia Farrow, who plays... Shit, I forgot her name. Her name's Rosemary. You'd think I'd remember that since the name of the fucking movie is Rosemary's Baby. Good lord. Anyway, Rosemary and her husband Guy, not the drummer from That Thing You Do, although that would have been kind of a funny twist, but her and her husband, they move into this new apartment that was just put on the market because old lady, she croaked, she died. And that, I don't really think that has much to do with the story, but that's just how it is in a way. Not much to do with the story, not that I can remember. So why am I talking about it? Anyway, they move into the apartment, and they have these older upstairs neighbors, and they become really friendly with them. Her husband Guy is a struggling actor, really having a hard time making ends meet. How they can afford this beautiful place, I will never know, but fuck, it was the 60s. Everyone could afford everything back then, even if you were dirt poor. I know that's not true, but nowadays everything is just so damn expensive. I'd love an apartment like that. It makes my apartment look like shit. So anyway, they're kind of going along, and finally, Rosemary and him decide to have a baby, to get pregnant. Well, the night they're going to conceive, their neighbors bring by this dessert. After Rosemary eats the dessert, she passes out. She kind of gets very dizzy and passes out, and she dreams that, I hate to say it, that she was raped on this altar by a devil-looking dude, and you know the neighbors and her husband are around there, and it seems very real to her, but she wakes up and, you know, it was a dream. It didn't happen. Or did it? Yeah, it happened. It did. It's pretty obvious. It's not ruining anything. This movie is not really about... It's about twists and turns, but at the same time, everything is fairly obvious. But I mean that in the best way possible. So anyway, Rosemary does get pregnant, and her neighbors are trying to help her, and they keep feeding her this stuff, and her husband is just acting weird. He's not acting very happy about this baby. And, you know, she eventually gets very thin and very sickly looking, very pale, and something's wrong, and she has this ongoing pain, and eventually it goes away, but she knows that something is wrong, and every time she tries to talk to people in her life from her old life, something happens to them. You know, they get sick or they die under mysterious circumstances, and her husband's career is all of a sudden taking off. He's getting all these acting roles, he's getting all this money, you know, he's doing really well for himself, so it's just, that's great, but she's not having a very good pregnancy. And after a while, she starts to realize that it's possible that the people that she's been surrounding herself with, the old neighbors, everybody else, and possibly the people that were there during the rape, are witches. And they're, you know, all involved in witchcraft, and it somehow involves this baby. And really, that's all I can say about the plot without ruining it, because I knew the ending of this movie, what it was. I'm guessing it was a big twist back then, and it is a big twist, so I'm not going to ruin it in case nobody knows, but I don't know if it was intentionally supposed to be like a twist-type ending, but I could see if it was back then, but I already knew about it a long time ago, but even knowing about it, it did not ruin the fun for me. The script, it was adapted. Roman Polanski adapted it from a book, and I don't remember the author's name because, God forbid I do my research before I hit the little record button on the camera there, and it was even nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay at the Academy Awards, and it was adapted beautifully. I mean, the beginning of this movie, it's a very slow build. I mean, it's just kind of the everyday lives of Rosemary and Guy, and then they're intertwining with the older neighbors. And, you know, it's a very slow build-up, but it's not paced horribly. The script was well written. The dialogue is very natural, well put together. It helps tell the story. You know, it's not everything is explained to you through dialogue. There's a lot of stuff that's, you know, in the background or just subtle little things that had to have been written in the script, and it was pieced together beautifully. I've never read the book Rosemary's Baby. I would actually very much like to now to see if anything's really different, but it very well crafted, very well put together, and it's chilling. And once the pace picks up towards, it takes really the first hour because there's a lot of build-up, but once the story kicks in, it just keeps building and building and building and building until that climax. And the climax is really the last 8 minutes, and the payoff is well worth it. It all wraps up in the end nicely, but it's very depressing and very sad. The ending, I expected the ending, but not the very end. I expected something else, something with a little bit more tragedy, but it is a tragedy, honestly. But the script itself is so well put together. I love the dialogue in this. I love all the characters, and I'll end that there because next up, I talk about the cast / the characters. Okay, so Mia Farrow plays Rosemary, and she is just brilliant. brilliant in this role. She's very naive in the beginning, but towards the end, she stands up for herself. And you feel so bad for her. There's nobody on her side. Anybody that is on her side is basically thrown out of her life. And I felt for this character so much. I wanted her to get answers, and I wanted her to get away if possible. And I felt so bad for her, and Mia Farrow was the perfect choice for this. And apparently she almost quit because it was intervening with her marriage to Frank Sinatra at the time. He didn't like that she took a starring role in a movie. Dick. But she luckily stayed on board, and thank God she did, because I can't imagine anyone else being more perfect for this part. She was already very thin, but they were able to make her look very sickly when she became sickly during her pregnancy, and it got to a point where I'm like, someone take Mia Farrow to the hospital, please, good Lord. But I loved her in this movie. And the guy who plays her husband does a great job. I don't know if I've seen him in anything else. I know he did a lot of stuff, but I loved him in this. The Neighbors, the one Ruth Gordon played the neighbor, she won Best Supporting Actress. Personally, I don't really see why. I'm not saying she didn't do a fantastic job, she did, but I was waiting for her to get up to that next level as the story unfolded, like for the crazy to go, and it never did. So maybe because I was hoping for that, it kind of ruined it for me. She was phenomenal in this. There's obviously something that I'm missing, but good for her for winning the Academy Award. And the guy who plays her husband is great. The guy who plays the doctors are great. Like, the entire supporting cast, there's no weak link in this. But the main characters are really Rosemary, Guy, and then the two neighbors, older neighbors, and all four of them, it's fantastic. It kind of is almost like a play. It really is, and I like that a lot. But this was cast beautifully. And the characters, I mean, the actors portrayed the characters fantastic. And I root for Rosemary, and you sympathize with her so much. She is, of course, the main character, the star. And with Guy, you kind of understand why he did what he did, but you hate him a little bit because he's treating Rosemary like a big pile of shit. And the neighbors too, you wonder about what is their deal, what's going on with them, but they're also so nice to Rosemary, and every other character too, you're wondering like who's going to be on Rosemary's side. Everyone plays their characters wonderful, so the cast was about as perfect as it could get, and the characters were wonderful too. I enjoyed all of them. And last but not least, I talk about the direction, the editing, and the music. So, Roman Polanski is a brilliant director. There's no getting around that. Not going to get into his personal life. Brilliant direction, and this showcases it. It's a shame he didn't get nominated for more awards, especially the Academy Award for Best Director, and this I think should have gotten a Best Picture nomination, but maybe the controversy held it back because there's a lot of controversial stuff in this, even in 2017. But his direction in this is perfect. I loved it. It helped tell the story. The cinematography was beautiful. And the way he was able to get the cameras around these tight spaces in this apartment, everything felt like real, I mean, I almost said real sets, but like real apartment building, and it probably was. But his direction just made everything seem very realistic, and the way he shot the characters, it showcased them very well. I'll just keep saying the same stuff. Like, I love the direction of this. It made the movie gorgeous to look at. The editing, the movie is about 2 hours and 16 minutes long, 2 hours 20 minutes long, and the beginning, the first hour, it's not slow. It's just slower paced, but it needed to be. The editing was awesome. Awesome. Very well paced movie, and I really can't think of anything in the movie that wasn't needed, that should have been cut out. Everything fit together nicely, it just beautifully, very well edited together. Yeah, it was perfect. And the music too, the soundtrack is fantastic. The opening song, it starts off real eerie, and then it gets kind of cheery, and that's really how this movie is. It starts off real cheery, and then it gets eerie. It's cheery eerie. It's eerie cheery, and that's how I would describe this movie. But the music, the soundtrack, again, helped tell the story, helped build suspense, you know, but there was also no music when there didn't need to be music, but there was always music when there needed to be music, and I love the soundtrack in this. It was fantastic. So my final thoughts on Rosemary's Baby is it's not a scary movie. So I possibly should have picked another movie to end Halloween. I really thought this movie would be a lot more scary, But that's not what Rosemary's Baby is. It's more chilling. And it's more about story, which I like. I like scary movies with a story that just gets you engrossed in the movie, and that's what Rosemary's Baby did for me. I was engrossed in this world, and in what was going on with Rosemary, and the mystery surrounding everybody in their life, including her husband. And I wanted to know what was going to happen to her, what was going to happen, you know, with her baby, what was going on exactly, even though I knew that was ruined for me decades ago. But I was still wondering, how do we get to that point? So, and it all wraps up nicely, but depressing as well. It's an ending that will stick with you after you know, stop watching the movie, or back then when you left the theater. It's a very well pieced together script. The direction is perfect, the music is wonderful, and the cast and characters are fantastic. It's just not very scary. It's not really scary at all, but it leaves you with an uneasy feeling in your gut, mainly because of Rosemary, because you feel so bad for her. And you know, I kind of wish there was more in the movie. I wanted Rosemary to have a happy ending. And I'm gonna go ahead and say that's not really what happens. But I don't think it's the ending you think. I thought it was gonna be a more tragic, death-filled ending, and that's not what it is. And that's fine. I'm good with the ending they chose. It leaves you with that feeling of just like, of morose, just like, ugh, like really? That sucks, you know, but it creeped me out. It did. I watched it in the dark. I waited till night to watch it, and it did put me in that Halloween spirit. Rosemary's Baby is a movie that, it's not gonna be a movie I rewatch all the time, but every Halloween, it might be one that I choose. And maybe it's not, I don't see it becoming one of my all-time favorite movies or anything like that. Or even one of my all-time favorite chilling movies, definitely not scary movies, but Rosemary's Baby is a masterpiece, and I'm so happy a couple years ago it was put in the National Film Registry, because so many movies, I could tell from watching it, so many movies took from this movie. For scary movies, for thrillers, for mystery, it was so much in one movie and done so well. Very few movies come out as perfect as this, especially from now like 40-50 years ago. So for Rosemary's Baby, the final film for Halloween month, for me, I give a Just Joe rating of 4.5 out of 5. So thank you very much for tuning in to Too Many Movies with me, Just Joe. I'm gonna speed it up here a little bit. Hope you understand why I kind of sped it down a little bit, just to keep it, you know, keep it low tone, keep it a little more scary and suspenseful, you know. And, you know, I hope you enjoyed, any of you that watched me during Halloween month. And please, you know, all the links are in the description below of the Twitter page, Instagram, my Facebook page. Subscribe to me on here at Apartment B1 Productions. I do a Too Many Movies every single Friday, where I watch a new movie for my collection. And next month is going to be Spielberg month for me, because there are actually a lot of Steven Spielberg movies I have not seen, especially from the 70s and 80s. And all 4 movies I have picked out are very famous Steven Spielberg movies that I have never seen, that will probably shock a lot of you. But I cannot wait for next month to be able to start watching 4 Steven Spielberg movies, 4 of his all-time greatest movies and highest grossing movies that I have not seen yet have in my collection, because I'm weird. But for Halloween, if you are going out for Halloween, either to party or taking your kids trick-or-treating, or even if you are a kid, please be safe. You know, especially as crazy as the world is nowadays, but have fun, dress up as whatever you want, you know, be whoever you want to be. It's fun to play dress up during Halloween as a kid or even as an adult. Go have a good time. Just be safe. Okay, so anyway, happy Halloween to everybody. Have a safe and enjoyable Halloween. I cannot wait to get to next Friday for what will now be Spielberg month. And again, have a safe and happy Halloween. And I'm gonna get some lights on because this is kind of creeping me out. But since I've been doing this all month, one more wolf howl for you guys before I go. This is Too Many Movies. I'm Just Joe. I got more movies to watch, of course. And here we go. Oh, God.
quiet on the set.